It was the 2002 World Cup, Brazil versus Germany. I was alone in the living room, the TV flickering blue across the walls. My wife was asleep. My two boys, 7 and 5, were tucked in their beds down the hall. Then I heard it. Tap, 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 a ball bouncing, coming from the storeroom. I told myself I was tired. It was past midnight. The match was almost over. Maybe it was the neighbor's house. Maybe it was the TV. Maybe it was nothing. Tap, tap, tap. Louder now, deliberate, like someone was standing in that dark room dribbling a ball on the tile floor, waiting for me to notice. I muted the TV. The crowd went silent. The tapping didn't. I walked, slowly. The hallway felt longer than it should. The storeroom door was slightly open, just a crack of darkness. I pushed it. I reached for the light switch. The fluorescent bulb flickered twice before it stayed on. The ball was there, sitting in the middle of the floor, but the floor beneath it was wet, not water. Dark stains spreading in a circle around the ball like something had been dripping from above. I looked up at the ceiling. Dry. No leak. No pipe. Nothing. I turned off the light. I closed the door. I told myself it was a spill. I told myself I was imagining things. I went back to the living room. I turned up the volume. Brazil scored. Ronaldo. I cheered. I tried to forget. Tap, tap, tap. I froze. My hand was on the remote, but I didn't press anything. The tapping was louder now. Not from the storeroom anymore, from the hallway, right outside the living room. Like something had followed me back. I switched off the TV. I walked to the bedroom. I did not look down the hallway. I got into bed next to my wife and I stared at the ceiling until the sun came up. I did not tell her what I heard. I did not tell her about the stains. Let me take you back. 1 month before the World Cup, our family went to a waterfall, about an hour's drive from our house. A quiet place. Not many people knew about it. The water was cold and clear, and the jungle pressed in on all sides like it was waiting for us to leave. My youngest son, the 5-year-old, was playing near the edge of the pool when he found it. A football, the official 2002 World Cup ball, golden and green and white. It was sitting on a rock near the water, half hidden by ferns, like someone had placed it there and walked away. It looked brand new. My son ran to me with it. His face was bright. He asked if he could keep it. I looked around. No one was there. No picnicking family. No children. Just the sound of the waterfall and the rustle of leaves. I said yes. We brought it home. That was when things began to change. My son played with the ball every day. In the living room, in the yard, in the hallway outside the bedrooms. But sometimes, often, I would hear him talking. I would walk in and he would be sitting on the floor, the ball in front of him, whispering to it. Laughing at nothing, I asked him, "Who are you talking to?" He looked up at me. His eyes were clear, not lying, not hiding. "My friend," he said, "the boy who plays ball with me." My wife asked the same thing a week later. He gave her the same answer, the same calm, the same clarity. He was not scared. He was not confused. To him, it was normal. There was a boy. The boy played with him. The boy lived inside the ball. Then the photo frame fell. It was a heavy frame. Wood, glass. A family photo from our wedding. It hung on the living room wall, 4 feet off the ground. One afternoon, it flew off the wall. Not slid, not tipped, flew. The glass shattered. The frame landed 6 feet from where it hung. My son was in the room. The ball was at his feet, but he was sitting on the sofa, too far away to have thrown it, too small to have kicked it that high. When I asked him what happened, he didn't cry. He didn't flinch. He just looked at the ball and said, "It wasn't me." That was when I remembered the stains on the storeroom floor. That was when I started to wonder what we had brought home. I told the story to a colleague at work, a man who had lived near that waterfall his whole life. I told him about the ball, about the tapping, about my son's friend, about the photo frame. His face went pale, not surprised, not curious, pale. He said, 4 years ago, a boy drowned at that waterfall. Nobody knew how. The water wasn't deep. He could swim. His parents were 10 feet away. One moment he was there, laughing, playing with his football. The next moment he was gone. They found his body downstream. They never found his ball, until my son found it on a rock. The next weekend, we drove back to the waterfall, all 4 of us. My wife held my youngest son's hand. I carried the ball. We walked to the edge of the water. The same spot, the same rock, the same ferns. I placed the ball where my son had found it. I didn't say a prayer. I didn't know what to say. I just stood there for a moment, and then we walked back to the car. Nothing has happened since. No tapping in the night. No stains on the floor. No photo frames flying off walls. My son stopped talking to invisible friends. The house felt lighter, like something had finally been allowed to leave. But sometimes, late at night when the house is quiet and the World Cup is on the TV, I still mute the sound, just for a moment, just to make sure. Because I know what I'd hear if the tapping ever comes back, and I know whose ball it would be. How do you drown in water that isn't deep enough to cover your head? I don't think the boy was drowning. I think something took him. And when my son found that ball, I think whatever took him was still holding on. Stay in the light.